V-Gates, YouTubers, how's it going? Just part 3 of our next segment of this battle report. Test battle that I'm running here, Germans versus Soviets. Down here in the Future Man Cave, Crazy Germans Workshop, and today we're proudly presented to you by Old Leg Humper and the Blue Max. If you've never seen the Blue Max, I highly recommend it. World War I era fighter ace movie. It's actually really good. If you've never seen it, pick it up. You'll really like it. Now, to the battle report. It's getting really interesting here, guys, because it's starting to look like the Germans are just going to completely destroy the Soviets as the way it's looking right now. It's the start of the German movement and firing phase, but I wanted to point out what, as the Soviet player, I would say that I would have probably done better massing all of the forces more in one massive push up towards the objective, because I've basically divided the forces and it's starting to take its toll. You can see here that I have the 2 fatalities. I got 1 command tank that's IS-122 that's basically not bailed back in yet, got back in his vehicle. We've got a platoon of 3 more coming up to fortify that position. I got a platoon of IS-2s and a couple of random Su-122s. So yeah, so we've got this battle group coming up the side. I've showed you in the other video that I am bringing those trucks around to try to do a bum rush up this right flank of the Germans. I don't know how that's going to work. The Germans are basically sitting in defensive posture. They're just sitting back and just picking off the Soviets as they come at them. So with that in mind, it's basically come down to, like most battles, a battle of attrition. So I would have been better served, I think, as a point of strategy of massing my Soviet forces. I think if I replayed this battle from start again with the same forces, I would definitely put out a left flank position over here with the Soviets to try to do a left flank guard movement, and then I would have just mass IS-2s up that right flank, followed closely by the infantry. I think I don't know that bringing artillery to this fight would have helped the Soviets. The Soviets certainly aren't throwing in the towel yet, but it's not looking good for the Soviets. They're just in a kind of a precarious position with these King Tigers. I may want to, if I ever replayed this same scenario, kind of cut the Soviets a little break and maybe take out 2 of the King Tigers. They'd lose probably a platoon or 2 of the Su-122s, but these Kings are just, they're the beast. Now these 2 over here on the right, they haven't really seen much action yet, but these 2 on the left, they've seen some action, and they're really a formidable force, especially these elephants. If you don't have elephants in your German army, I highly recommend you picking them up. They're not good for moving around. They're like the Kings. They're going to be slow tanks. So are the ISU-122s for the Soviets. They're slow tanks. So they're kind of cumbersome to move around the board. They're not really versatile in that respect, but they're hard to kill. Their armor's thick, and they get that double rate of fire at a 40-inch range, which that extra 8 inches can make a world of difference. So I'm gonna make my moves here and call out my first shots. I'll be right back. Okay, movement phase is over for the Germans. Made some pretty big decisions here. I basically moved the 3 tank Panther platoon out of the woods. I moved them up next to this destroyed building, basically fortifying this right flank, just basically putting them up toe to toe against those IS-2s. So I'm going to pop off 3 shots since they moved. I think I'm going to do all 6 of my shots from the stationary platoon in the woods at the the SU-122s downrange. I went ahead and shifted the command tank and his partner from the King Panther or King Tiger platoon over here. There's really no shots yet. It's basically a re-movement, just realignment, kind of just shoring up where the bulk of the Soviet forces are going. I'm going to get them in a position to protect this left flank and shore it up. I still have the 2 Panthers in reserve in the woods that I can bring to bear on this left flank. So what I kind of decided to do, since I have those 2 elephants, I basically moved them to the left. I mean, just shifted them to the left, pivoted them to the left, so they can both get a shot off here. Since they didn't technically move, we'll get 4 shots at the IS-2s. I've pretty well decided to. I moved my spotter team for my howitzer 152s. I moved him there. I want to pop off some shots. I don't know what exactly will happen. I might get a couple of bailouts maybe. But I'm going to fire my howitzer 152s downrange at those IS-2s. I think that's what I've decided to go with. Lots of options in that, guys. That's what's so awesome about wargaming and gaming in general, is just the strategy, making these decisions. Oh, the other major thing I've decided to do, strategy-wise, is I think that's why I've decided to. Well, first of all, I'm gonna take my Fallschirmjägers. I'm swinging them to the right flank. They're in motion. They've been given their orders. They're being told that they're to go down the right flank to sweep down the back and take the objective. I've held off. So basically moving them down the right flank here, but I haven't been able really to fire any smoke. That's why I have this battery back here, is for smoke bombardments. I've been thinking about possibly shooting some smoke over here, but I got to double thinking about it. It's really not going to serve any purpose for me at this point. I think the smoke bombardment is really going to come into play as this platoon of Fallschirmjägers moves down this right flank. I'm probably going to throw some smoke once this battle ensues right here. Once we get this sorted out, I'm thinking I can throw some smoke, and I'm going to skirt them down that right flank at a double pace, and getting them down to basically come in and take out this command center back here. So let's get on to the movements, or the firing phase. I'll call out the firing positions, or the firing shots, and then we'll pick up what happens with the German firing once I get to the Soviet movement phase. Okay, we had some carnage there. We threw 6 shots downrange. It destroyed one of the ISU-122s and bailed one of them out. We had 3 shots thrown out at the IS-2s, which destroyed one of the tanks. And the Elephants scored a bail and a destroyed tank from the Elephants. Artillery fired at this platoon here did not get any successful hits. We didn't range in until the 3rd attempt, so that doesn't really help. So we didn't range in. So let's go to the Soviet movement phase. First, the Soviets are going to roll to bail, get their teams back in their vehicles, and then the Soviets will make their movement. Okay, we had, let's see, 1 of the 3 bailed Soviet tanks actually got back in. We got the 122 over here. This guy failed again. The command tank, he must not want the fight. He's still hiding back behind his tank. We got this guy over here. He did not get back in his tank either. So basically what I've elected to do for the Soviet movement is just keep moving the IS-2s up. Gonna basically looking at sweeping these 120 these IS-2s around by that factory flume, and then moving up the infantry. Gonna keep with my same plan to try to move them up the right flank. Command tank, I went ahead and moved him up to start to reinforce this. I've basically formed a Soviet firing line right here. We're going to use these 122s. Are going to go at the King. There's one King Tiger they all three are going to shoot at, and then we got 4 IS-2s are going to fire at this open platoon downrange to see if they can make a dent. 122 over here is just going to simply return fire. So that's basically it. The Soviets, it's starting to get heated. The Germans have had 0 casualties, and let's see, the Soviets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vehicles have been taken out, and 2 bailed vehicles. So the Soviets are starting to take a licking here. But again, you know, until we get down below half strength in these units, we're simply just going to keep pushing forward, because the point is to just take the objective. So that's where we're going to be. Okay, sports fans. Alright, I'm quickly realizing that, and relaying to you other players, and especially you new players out there, if you're building German army lists, King Tigers late war, Elephants late war, must have, because the anti-tank, or the front armor and the anti-tank abilities of the ISU 122s and the IS-2s can't even penetrate the front armor of King Tigers or Elephants. So this platoon over here and this platoon here in the middle of ISU 122s, they couldn't even do anything, okay? At least the IS-2s here were able to score and take out a Panther. They did take out a Panther, but this 122 did not score a hit. He fired downrange, did not score a hit. So yeah, it's not looking good at this point when the Soviets are up against those 2 heavy tanks. I'm starting to feel like it's not even fair. Okay, it's like the Germans are just bullying on them right now. So and smoke has not even been fired. So there you have it. That's why I do these test battles. I'm testing out lists. I'm testing out if I were to play Soviets, even though it's my son's army, and I was going up against the Kings, and I was going up with the Elephants, you're gonna ask yourself while you're watching this. So what do you do if you're a Soviet player and you're going up against these units? Well, you're going to have to put yourself in a position where you're getting side shots. I mean, you've got to move your armor, your Soviet armor, downrange far enough to flank those positions enough, and that's going to come down to the strategies, because you're not going to take them out shooting at them from the front. You're going to have to get behind their front, the front plane of the front of their armor, and get around that side and get side shots at them. That's the only way. Artillery's not going to do anything. It's just going to bounce. So the Elephants, and especially the King Tigers, those are the absolute beasts of the game. So yeah, it's basically that German list that I actually added more King Tigers to that list. I actually had raised it from 2 to 4. It's probably not too fair. Actually, I'm gonna, at this point, starting the next round for the Germans, I'm gonna start moving those King Tigers up, because they're just gonna rape everyone. They're just gonna just slowly march forward. Even with the rate of fire 1, they're just gonna wreak havoc amongst the Soviet troops. So there you have it. That's the end of the 3rd turn, and it's going to be back up to the Germans to move and shoot next time.
Facebook, Twitter.